this was shared by Stoey at the Stowman on Twitter, and this actually comes originally from the NBA 2K Reddit, and it's a response from 2K support about a problem with online gaming, which is people quitting, bad sports quitting, and it's what I've mentioned as one before. One of the reasons that I've traditionally not been a huge online gamer, but yes, there has been a problem with someone who has been having a lot of opponents disconnecting on them, and says, unfortunately, there isn't much we can do here at the 2K support side. We don't have the ability to alter a player's record or remove the ability to quit out of a game, which is why the system suspends players for quitting too often. But here's the the funny bit. We suggest that you don't dominate your opponent too early on in order to discourage them from quitting. Now, okay, this is not terrible news in theory, terrible advice, I should say, in theory. Because yes, obviously, if you are dominating people, they are more likely. They're bad sports. They are more likely to quit. But as I said to you before we started recording, it's almost victim blaming, because it's saying, "Oh, it's your fault for being too good at the game." And what are you supposed to do? Keep it close. And some of the replies in this thread point out is, well, and this is from Cedric and Bullock at Jordan23WW. No, he supported us in the past as well with retweets. Appreciate the support on Twitter. Is this what they're going to tell E-League teams next year? To miss. And another user here. What are you supposed to do? Start missing shots on purpose? And that's sort of what it comes to, really. What are you supposed to do to quote unquote not dominate your opponent too early on? Now, support is in a tough position because they've got to give you the form answers and all that stuff, and they're not in charge of the game. They can only pass along the information they have. But it kind of reminds me of when the 2K14 servers got shut down, and 2K support's responses were just unintentionally terribly condescending. Like, it's, I mean, on the surface that makes sense. Don't dominate too early. If you dominate too early, they'll quit. But on the other hand, that's terrible advice. That's goes against the spirit of competition, really. I mean, if you are that good, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
And there's always that risk, that if you don't play like to your best, it can actually come back and haunt you. Like they could be
like foxing, faking,
playing. Yeah, exactly. So it could come back and haunt you in that sense, or come back to bite you in that sort of sense. So you want to try and build that lead up, or get off to as good a start as you can, so that way you can try and minimize any chance of that happening. So yeah, I think in theory
you can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, but in reality,
it's ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous to say. Yeah. I mean, I think there's been a couple of times in Pro-Am where we've just had at the end of a long night when I think we've quit maybe once or twice in the year or so that we've been playing 2K Pro-Am from 16 to 17. But usually we play it, and we've had some bad losses, and we've never claimed to be the greatest online gamers in the world. We do get on there and we have some fun. We're definitely not competitive online game. We compete to win when we play, but we're not we're not E-League esports players. But you play to the end. Sometimes you just endure the losses. I mean, that's how you learn, obviously. It's as tough as those lessons can be sometimes, and it's an opportunity to mess around and try and do cool stuff, or run a few plays that you want to experiment with, or pad stats. We've certainly done that in losses, just try to pad stats. So,
we've always commended when we've played against other teams, and say for instance, they had 3 or 4 guys, and then a couple of them had quit or got fouled out, or ratings booted out.
Rated out, yeah.
That there was still that one guy that was like, well, this is my chance. So they didn't quit. Like, we'd always be concerned, like, oh, these guys are going to stay along, and they end up staying throughout the whole game. And I think in one case we actually lost to one guy.
There was a guy who did it, and because I did it to someone as well when you and Kenny got kicked from failed out or whatever. And then I managed to do the comeback. We were still on the party chat, so you heard my excitement of that happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be easier because you've got the cheesy steals from the 4 CPU opponents. So
That's true.
that definitely helps. But then, of course, trying to run the offense is harder without the humans the human user to exploit some of the cheesier plays that you can sometimes get away with.
Especially I suppose like playmaker is probably the least cheesiest offensively.
Yeah,
compared to like like a
sharpshooter.
Yeah, so you're kind of doing it the harder way, but yeah, the credit to one it can be done in that. So it can be worth that chance of like sticking by it, and just sort of taking it like a man, I guess.
Well, yeah, but you get the loss either way. So
yeah.
Why not just okay? Let's just mess around. I mean, I was actually playing Rocket League the other night. Had a few good victories when playing with my friend online, and we did have one where we stunk. We were having a terrible game. The other guys were pretty good, and they said on the chat there, much respect to you for sticking around and playing it out. Because a lot of people do quit in that situation, and we've had people quit on us. Actually, there was it's getting off the topic of basketball, and although we did play hoops, the Rocket League basketball, and we're getting a bit better at that. That's fun, but we had some people. We beat them in the 2-on-2, and then had a rematch, and they were beating us, and they started to talk trash, and so then we just came roaring back and started to beat them, and then they quit with 10 seconds left. So that was very satisfying to see them get so salty about after the trash talk fell through on them. And I think we've seen similar stuff in Pro-Am as well. So yeah, it's not really good advice at the end of the day. I mean, I suppose if you are that good, you could just let them stick around for the first couple of quarters and then just really or the first 3 quarters. But look, people are going to quit at any time, so you definitely need that situation there. A reporting system, it would be great as well, especially in Pro-Am. I know we've had some dirty messages and such from people, and so that's why I switched my message off on PlayStation. I don't want to hear from kids. I only want to talk to the people I know. So so don't want to be too hard on 2K support. They got to do what they do. They've only got their 4 answers to go with. But I saw that that shared on Twitter, and I saw that. Yeah, that's probably not the best advice, all things considered.
Yeah, that's for sure.